I have never been able to sit still on this earth. Maybe it's the blood, American Indian, African, Mediterranean, all folded into one lineage that never let me claim just one story as mine. Maybe it's the years I spent in the Navy, learning early that the horizon is not a wall, it's an invitation. Whatever the cause, I have never understood people who are content to live and die within 20 miles of where they were born, never once asking what the rest of the world has to teach them. I have stood in Cartagena at sunrise and watched the fishing boats go out the same way they've gone out for centuries. I have walked the streets of Medellin and felt the particular electricity of a city that rebuilt itself out of its own worst chapter. I have floated over the Nile in a hot air balloon at dawn, looking down on water that has been moving the same direction since before anyone wrote anything down, and felt in that silence something I can only describe as recognition, not tourism, recognition. I have stood in the shadow of the pyramids and felt small in the correct way, the way a man is supposed to feel in front of something built by hands, driven by a purpose bigger than comfort. I have walked Rio de Janeiro's hills and Cairo's markets and Honolulu's shoreline, and in every single one of those places I found the same truth waiting for me. The world was built by people who moved. This book started as a comment. I was online, watching a familiar argument play out in a familiar way, people condemning God for cruelty, defending God against cruelty, both sides arguing with an entity that, on close reading, was never actually the one doing the cruel thing in the text. I wrote a few paragraphs pointing out the difference between the Lord who closed wombs in Gerar and the God Abraham prayed to for healing them. I wrote it fast, the way you write something you've been carrying for years without realizing it had a shape until it hit the page. That comment did not stay a comment. It became content, a question I could put back in context. What else have we been mislabeling? What else has been sitting in plain text in a book most of us were handed before we could read, waiting for someone to actually read it instead of reading it for ourselves? I want to be clear about what this book is about. It is not an attack on faith. It is not an attempt to tear down the Lord, the builders, the colonizers, or anyone else who shows up in these pages with dirt on their hands and an empire behind them. Some of what these men built, the roads, the routes, the record keeping, the reach, is the same infrastructure I used to get to Cairo, Cartagena, to Rio, to Panama's canalways, to Peru's mountains. I am not ungrateful for the world men built. I am simply asking that we get honest about who built which parts and stop crediting the creator for the administrator's work and stop blaming the administrator for the creators. This book is a forensic audit, not a demolition. Forensics doesn't burn the building down. It walks through what's already standing, room by room, and tells you the truth about what happened in each one. What you'll find in these pages is a distinction I believe changes everything once you actually see it. Made is not formed. Created is not the same verb as domesticated. The wild mouflon and the field sheep come from the same original stock, but only one of them still answers to nobody. Genesis draws this line on its own, in its own words. Chapter after chapter, I did not invent the distinction. I only got tired of watching people miss it. I wrote this book the way I've lived, moving, questioning, refusing to accept the tour guide version of the story when the primary source was sitting right there in my hands the whole time. I wrote it for the reader who has felt somewhere in the back of their mind that something in the traditional reading doesn't quite add up, but never had the time, the language, or the permission to go looking for why. You have the permission now I'm handing it to you the same way it was handed to me through a question I couldn't leave alone. Let those with ears hear. Let those with feet travel. Rondell L. Jordan, the Sovereign Professor. For more context, visit tropicvita.com, where you can explore and subscribe to my channels for exclusive access to more worldview content like this. And remember, leave a comment,